Hey, good morning. It's another fun day here, Turbo's Toy Box. Today we're going to play with a Jeep. You see it back there? My buddy Rob's got a brand new JL Wrangler. They've had it for, I don't know, coming up close to a year. Been back and forth with the dealer quite a few times, fighting a real sloppy steering issue, I guess. I've never driven the thing. I'm about to take it for a ride, and he has bought some kind of an aftermarket brace we're going to install in it and see if that helps rectify the sloppy steering situation. Straight or something. All right, so we're taking off. Rob can explain to you. He's got a little video that show you about the play in the steering, but
yeah, and it's a common thing with all the JLs, JLUs, JTs. So
I've never actually driven one of these things, so I don't know what to expect.
Well, so the dealer and everybody will tell you that it's a Jeep thing, right? So that's one of the first things they asked me when I complained about it was, well, have you ever owned a Jeep before? I'm like, no, listen, I just spent $40,000.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have. It's like it feels like you have to overcorrect, and so they told me they replaced the steering box on this one, and it seemed like it slightly improved. Now, I don't know if they actually did it or if it was a placebo effect, but I just heard like a couple of days ago that Jeep has now introduced this is an aluminum steering box.
Aluminum steering gearbox?
Yeah, so now they have a steel or cast iron or whatever it is. When that's bolted to the frame, then that one probably won't flex. I think this
is supposed to be acceptable.
Yeah. And we've just gotten used to it. But that's why I wanted you to drive it, because
this feels like my grandpa's like 1970s farm trucks.
Yeah.
And this is an 18, 19?
This is a 19. And I intentionally didn't buy the 18 because I already knew this was a problem, and I was hoping that the 19 was going to be better. But I've talked to people with even the 20, and there's still no improvement.
Wow.
So that's why, the sector brace was designed, it's to fix, the aftermarket is fixing the factory.
The factory flaws.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I can tell you if any of my Toyotas drove like this, I wouldn't have made it too far from the dealership. This is pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane.
Okay.
Yeah, well, hopefully your brace that you picked up will take care of this, because that's pretty ridiculous.
And I plan to keep going until it's fixed, whatever it is, but I want to do one thing at a time.
Right.
So that way you can document, like, what is the best improvement, at least, if not totally fixed. Ultimately, I was I still am prepared to go full. So this is like an electronic assist steering gearbox.
Right.
PSC makes a full hydraulic conversion.
Totally bypassing the...
Yeah, and this is basically a stock Jeep. It's one size larger tire and Rubicon shocks. That's all it is. It's basically stock.
Yeah.
So, and I'm prepared to go full on hydro conversion if that is the absolute fix, but we'll see what the brace does.
Eliminate the electronic portion of the steering. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So this is what we're going to install to try and rectify the issue with the sloppy steering. This is the Synergy brace. Supposedly stabilizes between the frame rail, the steering gearbox, mounting bolts in the steering gearbox output sector shaft. So hopefully this takes care of a lot of the slop in this thing. So got a jack under there, jack stand. Let's get started. Okay, so there's a million videos out there about how exactly this goes on, but so we've taken off the tires on the front. We've disconnected the sway bar from the axle on both sides. We've swung it up out of the way, taken the 4 steering gearbox bolts out, and taken off that sector shaft nut. And Rob is working on threading on the new one here. And put a few drops of red Loctite in there, so that thing's not going to go anywhere once we get her tightened up. once we get that on there and tight, then we got the little stabilizer piece there that goes around that new nut. It's got a grease zerk in it with a bronze bushing, so that hopefully it'll stay nice and free moving and trouble free for a long time. And yeah, just keep plugging away. So we've gotten everything bolted up except for the last couple little retainer screws that go underneath. Used a ratchet strap to line up the track bar. That was probably the most difficult part, was getting that, and then getting you know, put everything together loose, getting that bolt in and figured out, and then kind of tightening everything up after that. So but all in all, not too bad. I don't feel like we've been at it maybe 45 minutes and we've been farting around a lot and being goofy, so not going too bad at all. Hopefully we'll get this last couple retainers tightened up, take it for a ride, and see how much this thing helps. All right, so we're backing out of the garage. Got the new Synergy steering gearbox brace installed, and we're gonna take the first test drive here and see if it did anything. Time will tell.
Should be able to feel it pretty quick right out of the gate, I think.
Nah, it's still a Jeep, this piece of shit. So we're gonna head to the Toyota dealer and trade it in on a 4Runner because it's a Jeep. Well, that's interesting. Your steering wheel was perfectly straight. Now it's to the left by a few degrees. Huh. The steering is definitely tighter though. Like, that's actually kind of crazy. It actually feels like an immediate input. There's no like delay of steering input like there was before.
So to tighten that up, we just need to straighten the steering wheel.
Yeah. That's odd that, like, I don't understand why the steering wheel would be at a different angle.
Because we messed with the track bar. So we didn't adjust it.
No. Yeah, we didn't adjust anything. Well, that's interesting. And with a solid axle, your toe-in stays the same. So you don't need to adjust anything for your toe-in. You literally are just adjusting the drag link between the pivot arm and that passenger side steering knuckle. So that's no big deal. But yeah, I mean, it's dramatically amazing, actually. Surprising that little chunk of welded together metal makes that big of a difference. But
so there was videos people had posted where, like, as you were turning, typically with larger tires, but this did it even with the stock tires, before I even put the one size up, but you can see the flex from the aluminum.
Yeah, the steering gearbox.
Like, just a little bit. I mean, a few millimeter, and that basically translates to darn near inch and a half of play up top. Yeah.
No, that play is totally gone. I mean, the slightest of steering inputs has the vehicle moving.
So it drives more like a regular car.
Yeah.
So it's not a Jeep. It's not a Jeep thing.
It's almost not embarrassing. Almost.
Well, the next thing is
I mean, I'm gonna break my wrist waving at every Jeep that we pass, but at least it doesn't drive like crap. I don't feel like it's gonna put us in the ditch when I'm waving.
Right, now you can drive one-handed.
Yeah, you can drive one-handed. Like, wave to people. Wouldn't be bad at all.
I wonder if we jump it, if it'll straighten it out.
I know a place. That's a cool little truck.
It is.
So, I guess bottom line is it works.
$150 is what that cost.
$150 to fix the Jeep thing.
Well,
so,
we're not done yet.
Yeah, but the play and the steering is much improved. I would say it's at least 80+% gone away. There may be the very slightest of play left, but I mean, that could even be pawned off on the, you know, the soft tires of the mud terrain or something. You know, it's slightly larger mud terrain style tire, but the steering play is almost totally gone. So I think it made a huge difference, but we'll let Rob get in the driver's seat because they have put like 15,000 miles on this thing. So he definitely has a lot more wheel time with it than I do. So I'm gonna pull over here and.
I mean, ultimately, if the new steel steering box is also a permanent fix,
Yeah.
that would be, I think, better, just because then you don't have the maintenance of. With this one, you have to do the grease zert, but
Yeah.
probably just every oil change.
Every oil change, put a little grease in there. I don't think that's a big deal.
No.
Back in the day, cars actually came with grease zert fittings, and you had to grease everything at every oil change interval. So, I mean, it's a good idea to do that anyway. I know that we're doing 2 miles an hour, but initial.
Yeah, it's hard to say, but I definitely, I feel like I was getting so used to driving it with
the slop.
with making that, it's like a pre-adjustment before you adjust. You know, like to drive straight down any road, you're constantly doing a little micro adjust.
Right.
So imagine doing that, but like having to adjust it before you actually even get to your micro, you know, to your little adjust to drive straight. So it like you end up with driver fatigue on long drives.
Oh yeah, because you're constantly correcting and overcorrecting. And
so
correcting.
we've done some long drives, you know, 8-hour stints.
Right.
And
just wears you out.
I think to people that aren't, I mean, I'm used to driving a long time anyway, so it's a little.
Well,
less.
and your work van's a Ford, so I mean, it's really no
okay.
bad.
So
this is kind of a side step.
That's a good point. So I drive on a daily basis a Ford E350 with a Quigley 4x4 conversion, so it's got 1-ton axles under it, and that thing was 100 times tighter than this, which is a brand new. Yeah. So.
Yeah, those are notoriously kind of. Well, and before that, before you got the 4-wheel drive van, you'd been driving the old twin I-beam 2-wheel drives forever, right? I mean, it was only fairly recently that you guys got the 4-wheel drive vans for work vans.
Yeah, true. Well, I mean, there's still some play in this. It's not. It didn't transform it into.
It's not like
not a Jeep. It's
not a slot car or anything.
It feels more like how you would potentially
think it should drive.
Before, I mean, it felt basically defective.
Yeah.
Now it feels like.
Well, you actually went to the dealer, multiple times, trying to get them to correct the issue, and they told you it was a Jeep.
The first thing they did was they adjusted, because there's you're not supposed to do it, but they remove an access port, and then they adjusted the
steering gearbox itself.
Yeah, and you're not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
And slight improvement, and then I was like, it's still not good, guys. So then they changed out the box.
Yeah.
And then it was again another slight improvement. So I think this improvement is bigger than both of those for sure.
Yeah. So I'm gonna put this out here. So I don't know if you can tell or not, but the steering wheel just slightly to the left as he's driving. So we'll get that back in the garage, see if we can make that adjustment in the drag link, and that'll be it for today. It's as good as it's gonna get without throwing a bunch more money at it. Maybe that's the Jeep thing.
Just empty every pocket.
So to correct our crooked steering wheel issue, what we need to do is loosen up this collar bolt right here between the pitman arm and the drag. So we loosen that nut, and once that's loose, then we'll be able to adjust this collar to get the steering wheel squared up where we need it.